Well, it's a long week of football, and we just had a surprising game, I'd say. I don't know. We'll talk about it. It is the Rotohackers video podcast. My name is Judah Boot. I'm here with AJ Herschel, the kid, and it's Jared. And we are here to give you your unauthorized dose of fantasy football goodness in general. But we have information, we have entertainment, and such. How are you guys doing tonight?
Ask me in a few minutes as I'm watching the Braves try to not blow game 2 of the NLCS. They had a 7-0 lead, and then they came into the ninth inning with an 8-3 lead, and it's now 8-6. So
are you serious? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So 2 outs though, at least 2 outs and nobody on. So they just need to
come on, one more.
Closer. Yeah. So
it's
anyway.
funny because a lot of people here in North Carolina are huge Brave fans because some channel would come on and
TBS, probably.
TBS,
yeah. There's like there's a lot of people that there's a lot of people even I have a friend from probably 2 of the biggest Braves fans I know. One of them's from New York, one of them's from Maine because they got TBS, and so those were the games that they always saw. So it's kind of funny. Yeah.
Interesting. What about you, AJ?
I'm doing good. Josh Allen won me a game by 1 point tonight, so I'm very happy that they pulled him when he did, that he didn't have a chance to throw an interception at the end of the game. But doing good. Also, I should go ahead and get this out of the way before Thomas 8 shows up and calls me a coward. Yes, I got beat by Jared by 50. Okay, we all knew it was going to happen. We get it. We saw it coming. I don't know what to say at this point.
Well, is it just me, or was that I don't know. Like, I'm an optimist, and I enjoy life. But that was kind of a rough week of football. I don't know. For fantasy, I'll say. For fantasy, I didn't enjoy it very much this week. It felt disjointed, felt out of place. It feels weird having football tonight. I have a little bit of football fatigue, which is weird already. Of course, the COVID stuff did not help. And maybe it didn't help because I got out of the woods and realized that a huge game had been moved, and I had 16 teams to rearrange. So, what do you guys think? How you feeling about it?
I don't know what you're talking about. I had my best week yet. I won more than 3/4 of my game. So
wow,
I'll take all. If every week is that quote unquote weird, I'll take weirdness every week.
All right.
Yeah, I was fully prepared to go 2-5 this week or 1-6, and then Melvin Gordon and the Broncos went out, which messed me up in 3 different leagues. So I was literally just trying to duct tape half of my teams with stinking Tony Pollard and T. Higgins, and somehow I went 4-3. I don't know how it happened, but it did. So I'm more thankful than anything that I have a winning record this week because I was fully expecting to just do nothing this week. So I'm okay.
Yeah, and I have
only won.
I was gonna say any other year, I have teams that are 2-3 that I would not be happy with a 2-3 team. Just watching them.
Did he get hit?
Oh my gosh.
What?
Well, the tying run is now at the plate because they grounded a ball to Ozzie Albies. He bobbled it and then threw, and the runner had beaten it out.
Man, that would mean a lot to me.
We cannot blow this game. We cannot blow this game.
It's just crazy. It's Atlanta teams. It's a curse.
All this would mean a lot to me if I cared about baseball. But go ahead.
Where were we?
Yeah, well, I guess it was just a big failure week for me. I played a lot of what's that guy's name? Miller. On the Tampa Bay, I played
Scotty Miller.
Scotty Miller. 2/3 of my teams had Scotty Miller on them.
Ew, that's rough. See, that's why I was thankful Josh Allen got me the win.
Goose egg. What?
That's why I'm thankful Josh Allen got me the win, because I'm trying to remember. I didn't start Randall Cobb. I was like, not sure how I feel about the Texans this week. Scotty Miller's in. I kind of was like a desperation play late. Boom, put him in. I thought I was dead. Somehow he pulled it out. I don't know, man. Also, something interesting. I just checked on our YouTube channel. I think this is on YouTube our 100th episode.
Oh,
for real. I'm dead serious. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What in the world? Okay.
What happened?
And now they just got an extra base hit. Was this a double or a triple? Waiting to see where the runner ended up. I don't know if he's at second or third, but now the tying run is either at second or third. Oh, yeah, that's fascinating. If they tie this game, I'm just turning it off, because then I'll be disgusted.
I feel
or they may just win it. They may just win it outright here.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
100th episode. That's pretty good. Maybe hopefully there's no 100th episodes, of a series. Sometimes there's like a big character death or something. So hopefully we get through without anything like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for our 100th episode, I want to share. For our 100th episode, we're gonna start a Discord. Well, we started a while back, actually, right in the midst of COVID. But I'll put it in the. I will put it in the chat. We already have a comment. Claudio's in the chat with us. What's up, Claudio Jenkins? How'd you do this week, Claudio? Let us know in the chat below. I'm also gonna put a Discord where you can catch up with our chit chat, where we're going to be doing some chatting. And tell you what, these guys, you get a lot of inside information fast.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
from Jared.
Yeah.
I'm relaying it mostly, but yeah.
Well, whatever your sources are, they're good. He said he did decent. I think I lost more than I won this week, unfortunately.
Yeah, it happens.
And they pulled it out, thankfully. Ground out to third. Oh,
bang, my God. Let's go.
Okay, sorry. Now I can focus a little bit more. It's just
Atlanta. Game in the bag.
It's just Atlanta sports. It's a curse, I tell you.
Well, anyway. Let me ask you this. What are some huge takeaways for you guys from this week? What are things that you said, that's interesting, or that you just thought was important for our listeners to hear?
You got any you are ready to lead with, AJ?
Wait, sorry. I was looking at one other thing with the NFL real quick. Say it again.
Thomas H says, I feel your pain, Judah Buddha. I had an ugly 0-4 weekend. It's basically a week from Thursday to Tuesday. That's a long football time. Let's see. So what is the thing that you're taking away from this week? Something interesting that you'd like to share with us and the listeners? Something that surprising or confirmed something you were already thinking?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing for me is that the Steelers are still very highly questionable, in my opinion, in terms of points. Chase Claypool dropped 4 touchdowns this week, so he could be big. Deontay Johnson's injured again, and Juju is kind of not doing so hot with 5-6 targets. I mean, the Steelers are a weird team to me already, but now I don't know who to trust in that entire offense, because Claypool had 4, Deontay's in and out, Juju isn't getting much, and Eric Ebron snipes a touchdown once every 3 games. So, I mean, you tell me.
I think maybe for me, just kind of settling on the guys that probably just can't be trusted. I don't know what you want to do with them. I'm not saying, drop them necessarily or anything, but there's just a a set of guys for me where it's like, okay, more often than not, like 4 out of 5 weeks or so, you haven't really produced, so you can't be counted on. So, just looking at guys like, Chark.
Yeah, he got injured again mid-game, right?
I'm not sure. Did he?
Yeah,
I
he
think
did.
so. Yeah.
Okay.
Left the game.
AJ Green. That's another one who got hurt, left the game.
He got hurt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Some of these tight ends like Higbee and Hurst. Just there were guys that we came into the season thinking like, oh, this could be like a sneaky like later round value, not late round, but like mid round, whatever you want to call it. And then it's just time to give up on those guys for sure. And some people probably gave up on them after like week 3 or whatever. But that's the thing.
And speaking of the Jaguars, James Robinson crashed back down to earth. So he's human.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how he does. We'll look for some points of confirmation. So, let's see. We have Thomas H. saying, I started Deontay Johnson. 3 of my 4 teams. Yeah, Deontay Johnson, man. 1 catch. Yeah.
Cost me a game.
He wasn't as bad as Scotty Miller, though. I'll say that.
I made the mistake in one league of starting him over Slayton. And because I thought, like, I know the volume will be there with Deontay. I thought, like, Cowboys, Slayton will do well, too. That was the only league where I had Deontay. So, yeah, he cost me a game.
That's rough.
Drew Vano's in the house. What's up, my dudes? What's up? My dude, Drew. Our dude, Drew. And Claudio says DK Metcalf is top 5 receiver rest of the season.
You're looking
what
like
do you guys think? Is DK Metcalf, is he top 5?
It's really interesting because he's technically the deep threat receiver, but they were letting Russell air it out so much that he's basically becoming the number 1. And Lockett is becoming more and more irrelevant as the season is going on, which is crazy. Like, he's putting up nowhere near the numbers he was putting up late last year, beginning of this season. DK is the number 1 there, and it's not even close. Now, whether it's going to continue, I know Jared's complained about it before, that Russell Wilson typically tapers off to the end of the year. Maybe if the Seahawks get a comfortable lead in the NFC West, they secure a playoff spot, maybe that doesn't continue on into weeks 14, 15, 16. But right now, if Russ is going to keep throwing it to him, I absolutely think that he's top 5 right now.
I don't know if he'll finish top 5 or not. I think, I mean, like I have him in our listeners league and I love him. But you look at kind of what he's doing. He's been very consistent in terms of yardage and touchdowns, 92 yards, but in 5 games, the lowest he's had is 92 yards. The most he's had is 110 yards. He's been within, like an 18-yard range in all 4 of those games. He has a touchdown in 4 out of 5. He made up for not having one against Miami by having 2 this week. I guess the thing, that would scare me a little bit is he's getting, pretty good volume, at least 6 targets in every game. But only more than 8 targets once, and that was this past week against Minnesota. So 4 out of the 5 games, he only has 4 catches. So that worries me that might catch up to him at some point. So I'm not sure if he's top 5 the rest of the way, but I mean, like I'm not complaining about his production or anything like that.
Well, let's get to the news. I should probably play the news banner.
News in the NFL today.
The biggest news, of course, is Dak. And that was
bad,
awful for him and frustrating for me. Not quite to the level of anything that he's going to have to. So, 2 things. 1, do you think he's going to stay with the Cowboys? And 2, what are the fantasy implications? Go with you, Jared.
So, I think he stays with the Cowboys. I I would be surprised. I think that would be. It's not like Dallas has another great option now. I guess maybe the only thing that would make it interesting would be if they somehow landed near the top of the draft or something like that. But I think I don't know. It's hard to say.
Have they won any game? They've won one game, right?
2.
They won.
They're leading the division at 2 and 3.
Yeah, it's such a horrible division. I don't see how they can't finish around, at least 5 or 6 wins. So I don't think they're going to like land up there and draft Trevor Lawrence or something. And between the division and just the amount of talent on the offense, at least. So, I mean, to me, the biggest fantasy loss may not even really be Dak, because there's a lot of quarterbacks out there putting up numbers this season. Justin Herbert is looking good. Tannehill is putting up numbers. A lot of quarterbacks are putting up good numbers. So I had Dak on, multiple teams. So I might have had him on a quarter of my teams. So that sucks. That's not fun. But I'm afraid, I don't have any stock in Amari, and I don't have any stock in CeeDee Lamb. And I was regretting that. Now I'm afraid, at least one of them is probably going to suffer a little bit. Just the change from Dak to Andy Dalton, I think is going to be a downgrade for the receivers. So and Zeke, they're going to rely on him more, but then he won't be in as many opportunities to score probably. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a trade-off there for him. But I think it's going to hurt the value of all those pass catchers in that Dallas offense.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think Claudio hits it on the head here where he says, I think it's a huge gain for Zeke. They're going to be running it more. Look, Dalton, Texas Ranger, is probably one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. He came out and he was throwing darts out there on that last drive. He was looking pretty nice. And that's going to be good, but he's not going to throw 40 times a game, I don't think, like Dak Prescott. And while I was watching the game, of course, I'm still yelling at the screen to the Dallas Cowboys, stop throwing it 6 times. Give it to Zeke. He's a top running back. Let him do his job. I think
that's what Romo was saying too.
Yeah, I think they're finally going to start giving the ball to him more, especially. And I get the theory of, okay, the Cowboys have been playing from behind a lot because their defense is atrocious. But still, you've got to give it to Zeke. If you don't want the other team to score points, don't put him on the field. Ezekiel Elliott is going to gain, I think, the most from all of this. I think CD and Gallup and Cooper are going to hurt because we don't know who Dalton's favorite target is going to be.
Unpopular opinion here. I don't think Dak was very good. And I don't think there's any drop-off to Dalton, and especially for fantasy.
Very unpopular opinion there.
Because one, I think Dak would have gotten you more yards with his legs. I think Dalton's going to throw just as much as more because he doesn't run. And I think he's going to he's always been a decent thrower. He's always been a high percentage fantasy, not high percentage, low percentage, but high. He had really high highs when he had a good coach and a good passing core, and he's got the best passing core he's ever had, ever.
He has Andy Dalton games though too. He does. But look. So who doesn't have this year? Like, it's interesting. You look at all the quarterbacks. Who doesn't have Andy Dalton games at this point? It feels like it's a crazy season for quarterbacks, as far as you have just huge highs and then just like tons of mediocrity and weird lows. Who would you say is, other than, Dak was the most reliable quarterback to this point. Who would you say is the next most reliable?
Russell or Josh Allen, probably for me.
Yeah, do you mean to this point or like rest of season? Who I think it's going to be
to this point, or give me both.
Well, we can just look at the numbers and see. Russ has had his first 3 games were 31, nearly 32 plus points. Last couple have been, low to mid 20s.
It's definitely
Mahomes,
Mahomes, though.
Mahomes has been Mahomes, you know.
Yeah.
Same way. Josh Allen, I think tonight was probably his. Yeah, tonight was the first time that he hadn't hit at least 25 points. But you know, Tennessee's a pretty solid team, and it was on the road. Kyler, you know, Kyler's probably been the most consistent, actually.
Mm.
Didn't he have like a 15-point week?
No, he's had at least 23.
Yeah.
And for the most part, he hasn't really topped, like he's out 1 out of the 5, he's topped like 27 and a half or whatever. So Kyler is typically right in there because he, you know, is mobile and he's going to get the rushing yards. So, you know, I think there's, you know, roughly about 4 or 5 guys besides Dak who have been really, really reliable that you can just put them out there regardless of the matchup and not worry about them, you know, giving you a dud or anything.
Another one is he's not reliable, but he's been pretty nice. Is Fitzpatrick?
Yeah,
he turned into Fitzpumpkin for like 1 game.
It was the first game. That was it.
That was it.
The only you know, the danger with him though is at what point do they put Tua in? You know, and so yeah, I like him, but basically any week you start him, you're going to be risking the possibility that he throws 3 INTs in the 1.5 quarters and then gets pulled for Tua. So
he should have at least one more good matchup though, because he gets the Jets. So he should keep in mind, should have one good matchup before they hit the bye, and then they have a week to figure out what they want to do for the future.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think Dalton can be at the bottom of those top 5 you mentioned. He could be top 10 easily and be pretty consistent. And he's not going to. One thing is he can't hand it off to Ezekiel Elliott as much as everybody wants him to, because their offensive line is actually struggling quite a bit. And he's going to have to get it off. And he works really well with a good plan. I think he's got the best situation here as far as his coach is perfect. His coach is like Vanilla City, right? Like he's not going to call all these complicated, weird plays. And that's what Dalton has always liked. The Red Rocket just wants just the rhythm. Just, okay, I know, look at my reads and typical just normal vanilla football. So I think he could do, and he's got, I say it again, he's got the best receiving core he has ever had. And for years, fantasy wise, he was doing like 30 points a game with like AJ Green. And
was he doing 30 points a game?
Well, 6 points per.
Okay,
that makes more sense.
Years, this is the first year I've done mostly. It's kind of strange to me to do 4 points.
Gotcha. I was gonna say I do not recall any of those 30-point Andy Dalton seasons. So that if it was 6, okay, that makes more sense.
But I mean, still, like I have to readjust my brain for. I mean, like so mid-20s, you know, average seasons. I don't know if average, but he would have like a lot of mid-20s. I just remember him sitting on the waiver wire.
Yeah.
You look at him?
I just think I don't really know I think he's worth picking up if you've got a spot, or especially if you don't have one of maybe those other 5 or so quarterbacks we talked about, to see what happens with it. But I think there's a possibility too, it might take him a little while to sort of get, because when he was in Cincinnati, I mean, he was just there forever. He had mostly the same guys forever. And so even as talented as they are, you don't know how long it's going to really take for him to develop a good sort of rapport with Amari, with CD, with Gallup, all those guys, how well he's adjusted to the offense and stuff like that. So whereas, Dak was in it last. So that's really more my concern. I mean, yeah, with those weapons, he should be, solid at least, but I don't know. Those are just some variables that I think about.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, we have some other news, and then we got a lot of comments. Well, one of the comments kick off the other news, if I can find it. I'm not very good at this.
Right here.
Okay. Yes, the Le'Veon Bell news totally
Le'Veon Bell is out.
dropped by
Crazy.
the Jets. What does this mean? Who do you think will pick him up? Will he get picked up? What do fantasy holders, owners of, we don't say owners anymore. What do fantasy shareholders of Le'Veon Bell do? Let's go with you, AJ. You seem to have some thoughts.
So I was actually talking about this before the episode. As soon as he dropped out with some of my friends, here's the thing: I don't know what team could pay Le'Veon. He was making about $13 million, and looking at the salary cap, most of the league has $10 million and under in space. Unless, of course, you're the Vikings and have less than $1 million in salary cap space. So I don't know what they're doing over there. And then seeing the teams that do have cap space, Browns don't need him. The Jets just let him go. Cowboys don't need him. Washington's got Gibson. I'm like going down the list. Jaguars have James Robinson. They just got rid of Fournette. So I don't think they want to get another kind of messy, I'll say, running back situation with Le'Veon Bell. I'm not sure right now what team could use him. I mean, maybe the Patriots, but they're going to have to pay Cam next year after this first early contract. So I don't know where he would go because I don't know who could pay him.
What does the cap space for the Bears look like?
Not great. We've got around $8.4 million.
Well, but the team that picks him up, won't it be sort of like
they pick him up for free? Like
right.
they negotiate.
Yeah. Like, so he will still, like, the Jets will still be on the hook for his current contract.
$4 million, I think.
Oh,
they still have to pay him $4 million. I think I saw that.
That's not bad. That's not bad in NFL numbers. As long as it's not like, two more years of like 18 million or something. I mean, 4 million is not bad.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. Well, we could look it up, but yeah. So I think like they'll still be on the hook for what's left of his contract. And then, I think another team could probably, if he wanted to just, if he cares about winning and wants to go to a contender, could go and like play for the league minimum or something. So I think you're right. I think Patriots, like, maybe he goes with Cam and, it's like the Patriots just turn into like the veteran reclamation project team. And, he becomes sort of the dominant running back there. Would there be a possibility that he would go back to Pittsburgh, and like then he and James Conner split time or something like that? I don't know. I don't know how much they think he's got in the tank, if he's a significant upgrade over McFarland and Snell and those guys, or if they say, hey, as fragile as James Conner is, maybe we should bring him back. So I think those two would probably be the ones that jump to mind to me. Or would Baltimore want to sign? I mean, Baltimore just collects running backs, So I think some of those, and looking through some of the others, I don't think I really saw a lot that made a lot of sense beyond them. Other than, maybe Chicago or something like that. But I think over in the NFC, there was kind of more of a shortage of teams that, it looked like he would really make sense for.
So it says Bell was owed about $6 million in salary for the remainder of the season, plus some bonus money, making him hard to trade. The Jets did not owe him any guaranteed money beyond this year, so the expectation was he'd be cut, but they just cut him instead, and he leaves behind a $15 million salary cap charge this year. I don't know what that means, and another $4 million for 2000. So he leaves behind $4 million for 2021. Doesn't seem like a lot.
No, it's not that bad. It makes sense then why they did that. And I mean, the Jets are going nowhere fast. They may be looking at, they may just be going in on tanking for Trevor. Maybe they've seen
Honestly,
enough
if they
from
did that.
Sam Darnold, and they're just like, no, this is not going to work. We're going to have to go get another guy. So, it seems like that's possibly part of it.
I do
What do you
not
think,
want to.
AJ?
About which part?
Oh, I guess you already put your 2 cents in about where would it go. I think, I don't know. I was watching him play on Sunday, and I don't know if he was just, rusty or what have you, but it was sad. The man looked like, his first year in the NFL. If you remember that year, it was not pretty, and so it wasn't a very good exhibition for his, those that are trying to get him on their team. But I'm sure somebody will pick him up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to your point about what could happen. I mean, he was in almost the worst possible situation. I mean, I didn't draft him on any teams. So I don't know, who was playing Le'Veon Bell already. So it's got the potential to improve, but like we saw with Fournette, that's not necessarily the case. So you can't drop him. You definitely want to wait to see where he goes and what his role looks like there and stuff like that. But it already was a bad situation. At least maybe he's got the potential for something now.
It's funny is 2 years ago I traded him for Dak in my dynasty league, and I just lost Dak. So you know what I did? I traded for Brissett. So we'll see. I am hoping that Brissett takes over soon.
So I saw rumors. Well, these weren't rumors. No, I'm sorry. That's the wrong word. These weren't rumors, but it was basically just analysts, an ESPN analyst talking about how the Colts should trade for Matt Ryan because the Falcons aren't going anywhere and the Colts have a good defense. They just need a quarterback.
Get rid of Rivers.
That would be
really
interesting.
Not Ryan, like.
Oh no,
that's Matt, very different.
Matt would whatever you want to say about Matt Ryan, he or almost anyone else would be a significant upgrade over Phillip Rivers. Like what we saw last season, and I was afraid of this, is we talked about it, and I don't remember.
You did. You're right on that.
I don't remember what I ultimately landed on in terms of hopefulness for how he would do at the Colts. But we talked about last year, he just looked like he was checked out. Like he was just chucking the ball. I don't care who gets it. I'm done. I like to throw a ball, and here it is. So nothing that's happened this year has made it, everything this year has just reinforced what we saw last year.
Mm-hmm.
The other old man that doesn't look great is Drew Brees. We were talking a little bit about that in the chat. Do you think it's almost Winston time?
You want to go there, AJ?
Sure. Yeah, I want to see him with Michael Thomas back first. Because if anything's
is Michael Thomas coming back?
I know. The only reason Thomas wasn't back this week is because he punched a dude, but whatever. So,
apparently it's because he ticked off the coach, Peyton.
Or punching a player.
He punched a dude, yeah, on the roster.
Yeah, but it was actually the talking back to Peyton that got him. The rumor is that he yelled at Peyton after because Peyton was like, "What the heck did you do?" And he yelled at Peyton. And Peyton's like,
well, Michael Thomas is like he's always one of those guys that is kind of on the edge. Like,
really?
He's gotten into. I can't remember what it was that he threatened to punch out a reporter on Twitter, threatened the guy on Twitter. Yeah, well, it's more. Yeah, Michael Thomas is closer to Antonio Brown than he is to Julio Jones. Like his personality is just like he is an angry dude. So it doesn't surprise me at all because I've seen some of this stuff happen. That's really kind of what I thought back to was the incident with the reporter or whatever. So. Anyway.
All right. Well, we'll see. I am in my dynasty leagues. I'm trying to get Winston. I think he's gold, but
Fantasy gold, maybe. Real life gold, maybe a little bit more like silver. It's not like everyone talked about the Bucks defense, and look what they've done now that they're able to, not get on the field every 50 seconds. They're playing well, and they're arguably the best run defense in the league. You remember when Jameis was there? Teams were putting up 30 points against him because he's turning it over like nobody's business. I do not want to see that happen with the Saints. I feel like that's going to mess them up.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens when Thomas comes back too, because, this is going to be, they're going to lean heavily on the run. They've got a good defense. They're going to lean heavily on the run with Kamara and Latavius Murray. When Thomas is back, you've got kind of both with him and Emmanuel Sanders, a couple of guys that, can get open well underneath. It's not, they don't need Drew Brees' arm to, chuck the ball down the field. So I would think, unless it gets really bad, that they're going to, and plus then Taysom Hill, then the plays they bring in Taysom Hill on to do something different. So I would assume that they're going to do everything they can to just stick with Brees, unless it just became just some kind of nightmare scenario. I don't think like Brees now has not been what Peyton was in
Not
that,
even close.
in that final
You're
season.
right.
So I think for the time being, he's probably okay.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, let's move on. I still don't have a transition for. I got to get one for the waiver wire, but let's move on to the waiver wire because this brings up a lot of questions. I mean, we're talking already about the waiver wire as we
do
talk
have a
about
question
these
real
things.
quick, by the way, if we want to get to that before we move on. We got a trade question. Is Montgomery for CEH a fair trade, or should I throw in a bench player?
I don't
I mean, it's
know.
not fair, but if you take it,
True.
Yeah, if someone will take that, I mean, but you might risk like them just being like, no, what, and then getting mad. And I wouldn't offer that straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although CH has not been, a world breaker, we'll say,
Yeah.
I think it kind of
And, I mean,
depends on.
average about 12. That's not bad. Double digits.
I think it depends on like who you're trading with. Is the guy you're trying to trade with trading because of just the stats, or trading because this is a person who thinks, oh, hey, this is my first round pick compared to your 8th round pick at this point. I'm going to need a little something more. It just depends on knowing the person you're trading with, I think. But if he'll take that, then take it from a Bears fan. Get CEH and run.
Are there some other good comments? Let's just go through the comments quickly.
I have one right here. Ryan Casimir, PPR redraft. I was offered CD for DJ Moore and Rojo. Thoughts? His running backs are Mixon, Allaire, Kelly, Dobbins. His wide receivers are A-Rob, Deontay, Gallup, and Shepard.
I would probably not right now, because I don't know what CeeDee Lamb looks like with Andy Dalton.
True.
I think DJ Moore has kind of settled in. DJ Moore did finally do something against the Falcons. But just, I mean, clearly he's the number 2 option, passing wise, and number 2 option in an offense where they like to throw to the running back a lot, so 4 targets, 6 targets, and 5 targets over the last 3 games. He kind of got loose for that touchdown. But DJ Moore is not at all, what I hoped he would be. Rojo right now is looking pretty good. It's hard to really trust what Bruce Arians will do with that, but right now he's a good RB3 or flex.
Well,
so
Ryan is saying he would get DJ and Rojo.
He says he was offered CD.
Oh, he was offered CD. Okay.
Yeah. So he would be.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah,
getting.
you're right. Yeah.
So I would not do it. Maybe if Dak hadn't gotten hurt, I would consider it more. But with Dak getting hurt, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, same, especially with Rojo looking better and better. Like we all worried when Fournette showed up and just busted out, but he's injured. He's not 100%. And if Rojo, and honestly, Rojo's just kind of showing the Bucks, oh, hey, I should be the number one. He's put up 100 rushing yards in back-to-back games. I would want Rojo in this situation, especially if your running backs are Mixon and CEH, with CEH who's been inconsistent but all right, and Mixon who I don't like, but that's more of a Bengals problem and not a Mixon problem. So I would want Rojo in that scenario.
I like that new little graphic down there. That's different now.
Yeah.
Well, I just tired of it covering up your face.
I think this looks cleaner and more professional.
Yeah. This is what the allies use.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
All right, next, give us another good one.
Claudio Jenkins, can we talk about how Mahomes actually looked bad on Sunday?
I didn't think he looked bad. I think he just. I don't think he looked bad. Did you guys think he looked bad?
I didn't get to see enough of it.
I think he drifts. I read an ESPN article about this, about how he kind of floats around in the pocket too much, which is something interesting I hadn't thought about, because he kind of, instead of, there's like two alternates, standing in the pocket and scrambling outside of the pocket. He's kind of like in between that scenario. And I think the problem is the Raiders' pressure was just getting to him a little bit, which is interesting because they played really, really well against the Ravens. And the one thing the Chiefs get beat by now is the deep threat of Henry Ruggs, which blew my mind. But if I'm the Chiefs, this is a wake-up game, I think, more than me for anything. I think they probably underestimated the Raiders maybe a little bit. But then again, rivalry games are always tough. Chargers and Raiders will always play the Kansas City Chiefs very, very tough and very, very close. I think Mahomes looked okay, but there were a couple of missed throws and forced throws in there. It threw him off his game.
Yeah, I wonder how much of it is, we always talk about Super Bowl hangovers, and I mean, they started out pretty strong. They beat Houston, and then 2 weeks later, there was that win over Baltimore. But you look at their other three games were against teams that you would not think of as being a powerhouse, and they were very close. The Chargers nearly beat them. They come back and won that game 23-20. The Patriots with Brian Hoyer at quarterback pushed them. And then, this week the Raiders finally got him. So, I think that's probably going to have a lot to do with it. And, the Chiefs will have to, struggle to overcome that Super Bowl hangover.
I think it's going to be an interesting matchup against the Bills next week.
Yeah.
I mean, we just saw the Bills have a similar surprising sort of shot in the mouth by the defense. And really, to me, that's what it was. It was the defense of
the Titans.
Well, I'm talking about for Mahomes, it was the defense of Las Vegas now,
Las Vegas
right?
Raiders, yeah.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
Oakland Raiders. They don't play in Vegas.
Anyways, it was that and their own defense. The Chiefs' defense did not play well at all and had them on the field quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it just, I don't know. It just seemed like it was a sort of an influx of both defenses playing differently than I expected, and probably than the team expected, and caught up to them. We'll see how they do, both of them. And it could be just a letdown game for both of them, as they were, seems like they could be looking forward to this game, this week, and they'll play up for this game, playing down for a team like the lowly Raiders, and got shot in the mouth.
I do think it is interesting. I'm with Drew and Claudio on this, that they need to give the ball to CEH more, which I totally agree with the Chiefs. But also I trust Andy Reid, who's one of the I don't even know what to say, smartest coaches in the league. I'll say that much. And especially he's the hardest coach to play coming off of a bye week. If you're a Kansas City Chiefs, if you're the Chiefs coming off a bye week, they're crazy good. But I think this is a wake-up game for Kansas City. With Buffalo, I think their defense is overrated. But if you're the Chiefs, I think it's a letdown game. I think they'll come back with fire next game.
All right. Well, let's
come back with a vengeance. That's what I meant to say.
What am I talking about? Vengeance. Fiery vengeance. Well, let's talk about waiver wire warriors. Let's be waiver wire warriors. Now, is it true what you were saying, Jared, was that the waiver wire has been? I don't think it actually has been postponed until tomorrow night. Has it?
It just got updated. I think I got the email.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Yeah.
I was reading the email and it said like some of them are and some of them aren't or something. Or
yeah,
I just read it briefly.
It is sort of confusing. They say, and what's funny is Yahoo opens by saying, "We apologize for any confusion," but well, yeah, there is some confusion here. So here's what it says, word for word. It says, "Here's how we will proceed with transaction/waiver wire processing and other weekly items for week 5. This info will also apply to future weeks that have a Tuesday game added to the schedule. Waivers. Players that would have cleared waivers on Tuesday or Wednesday morning will now be processed on Thursday morning." So I assume that basically means everyone, because normally the whole waiver wire is processed on Wednesday morning, unless you dropped them like Monday night. Yeah. So anybody dropped or that played Sunday or that was dropped on Sunday would process Tuesday night / Wednesday morning. So it looks like everybody now, the earliest that anyone will process will be Thursday morning. But then if you had someone maybe that you dropped tonight as opposed to the game being played, then that would be like Friday morning, I think.
Strange.
So
okay.
anyway, yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you. That's good to clear up. Well, I want you guys to look through and come up with 3, if you can, please, and I'll do the same. Look for 3 guys that you are targeting this week for pickups on the waiver wire. And in the meantime, let's take a look at some questions here. Scriv says, would you guys trade Colts defense and Robert Tonyan for Mike Davis?
He has Kamara and McCaffrey in 14-team PPR league. That's a big league, dude.
That is a big league. That would be hard because Mike Davis, who knows what value he'll be when CMC comes back, but who knows when CMC is coming back? Yeah. So
he could get re-injured. He could injure something else. Yeah.
I like Tonyan, and I don't know if I like Colts defense. It's half one.
They're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not doing bad. Would you guys do it?
I'd like to know what else he has for tight end, especially. Like, do you have a good tight end? Is Tonyan your second tight end?
Exactly. I agree with that because Mike Davis has been popping off in recent weeks. He's had 18 plus, I think, in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So if you've got Kelsey or someone at tight end, then I think I would do it. But if Tanyan's your starter, I don't know if that's worth it at that point.
Well, would you do it if, say, if you had who's that guy for the Lions? If you had Hawkinson, would you do it if you had Hawkinson?
I might. I don't have Hawkinson anywhere, so I'm not the best person to ask about TJ Hawkinson, I'll be honest.
And actually, what's his name is not done. The one you just talked about, Kelsey, has not done very well.
He's been fine.
Kelsey's been
He just picked up 100 yards, 8 catches, and a touchdown last week.
You just mean that he hasn't been like rolling out 20-something games. He's 2 of his 5 games. he's basically been at 20 points.
Yeah.
Four out of 5, he's been in double digits. He had one against New England, who's always tough on your best option, and it was 8.5. But
Yep.
I think we're like judging people sometimes by like the Kamara standard, where it's like, oh, you didn't throw down 35 points. Well, you were a waste of my first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's tough because I took Kelsey in the second round, I think, and so for this, is he giving me second round? Yeah, I think he is for sure.
Especially when you could have gotten someone like Kenyon Drake, who's done literally next to nothing in the second round,
and especially when you probably took him towards the end of the second round, where most of the running backs are gone. Whereas, was there a receiver there that, Godwin's been hurt, Galladay's been hurt, and you look at the bump that he gives you at that tight end position where
you have to play somebody. You can't play a wide receiver there.
Right. You can't play a wide receiver there. And you look at the depth we have at wide receiver, and, we talked about how would elite tight ends mean as much this year, because we talked about the possibility of some guys like Gesicki, Fant, Hawkinson, Higbee, Hurst, all these guys. Were some of those guys going to break out? Mostly they haven't. At best, they've been put up more down weeks than, good weeks, or like somebody like Hawkinson, who's always around like 9 points, which is okay. But so I think still, like, if you got one of those elite tight ends, Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, it was worth the spot where you took him. Even Ertz sucks this year. Ertz is like worse than everybody. So
yeah. But then again, the Eagles are pretty much worse than everybody. So
yeah.
All right. Are you ready with some waiver wire pickups?
Almost. We did have one question from about 10 minutes ago. Drew asked, pick 2, DJ Moore, Darius Slayton, or Hollywood going forward. Oof. That's rough.
I honestly, the easiest one for me out of that group is Slayton.
Agreed.
Because he's the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. I know 3 out of his 5 weeks, his numbers haven't been good, but you look at the teams they've played, Chicago has played the pass well. San Francisco is, against, in the secondary is still pretty good. Their pass rush has been hurt, but they're still good in the secondary. The Rams, where he had to match up with Jalen Ramsey. And so, he had good games against Dallas and Pittsburgh. So I think going forward, he's going to have, more, they may not be golden matchups, but they're just going to be easier than some of those where he got held down. He is the number 1 for me there. And then out of the other 2, I suppose I would still lean that's tougher. I might actually lean Hollywood because Moore is just the second option, the second wide receiver option in an offense where the running back gets a ton of targets. Robbie Anderson's getting a ton of targets. So I think Moore or Hollywood, either one, it's almost a little bit of a coin flip. I would give a slight edge to Hollywood and say, maybe he and Lamar continue to develop a connection, and he is at least the number 1 receiver in that offense. So,
I'd go with DJ Moore and Hollywood Brown. I don't like Darius Slay, but I know he's probably a better player, but I just can't stand him. No.
Why? What would he ever do to you?
I always appreciate your random hatred of certain players.
Call it a feeling. I just the team, the quarterback, the skill level, they're all just terrible. He's a big guy though, and he catches a lot of deep balls. He can get you a big week, and he has done pretty well up to now, but I think it's fool's gold. I think DJ Moore I never thought DJ Moore was very good. I don't think he's good, but I think he'll do. I think he'll get you. I think he's got a lower floor, and I think Hollywood has a higher ceiling.
Yeah, coming from a DJ Moore and Darius Slayton owner, currently they both have had about the same floor and same ceiling, so that hurts. I think Darius is the easy one just because the Giants don't really have anyone else to throw to other than Ingram. Tate's been fine. Shepard's been injured. Slayton finally had a good game last week, and they get some decent matchups going forward. I mean, they get Philly, so that's nice, but Washington twice, I mean, take that as you will. I mean, Daniel Jones is going to be running for his life. And then between DJ and Hollywood, DJ's the second option. Hollywood's targets have been steadily getting higher and higher. He's had 6, once again, 6 targets, and then 8, and then 10. And that encourages me because Lamar is throwing the ball more, which I don't like for the Ravens, but I like for fantasy, and Hollywood's starting to get more targets. So I would go Slayton and Brown because there's no one else to throw to in New York, and Hollywood is getting more and more catches as a Raven. And with DJ Moore, like we said, they're going to throw it to the running back all the time. And so Robbie Anderson, Mike Davis, and then eventually McCaffrey when he comes back. That's not going to be good for Moore's output. He is the definition of boom or bust right now.
All right, well, let's get to the waiver wire. We got to keep it a quick one tonight. I'm exhausted.
Okay.
And but
Before we leave, though, at
going.
the end, remind me, there is one comment that I really want to pick out here at the end.
Do it right now.
Okay, I just want to mention that Claudio Jenkins says his friend Bobby Okereke got a pick. This dude Bobby Okereke is legendary in my mind because Pat McAfee gave him the greatest draft introduction of all time. And if you guys haven't, you need to. He went on a 2-minute rant about how the Colts are better than the Titans. Meanwhile, the draft is in Tennessee, keep in mind. He goes on a 2-minute rant about how the Colts are better than the Titans and he didn't have to punt against them, and then gave this whole speech about how Bobby is the next great Colts player. And the fact that Claudio brought this up, that is awesome, dude. His friend Bobby Oker. That's awesome. He's your friend, man. Congrats to Bobby, dude. Nice going. Yeah. That's awesome.
That is great. Nice. Okay, so I have 3, but what do you guys think? What do you guys have?
Jared, do you want to go first on this one?
No, so I'll let somebody else go, and then
I'll go.
I don't want to take anybody else's. I might have some deeper. I'll look for some deeper ones if you guys.
Okay, all right. So I have P. Ryan. I have P. Ryan, Hardiman, and it's hard for me to choose between Dalton and if he's out there, I probably would go. Let's see, Dalton and Herbert to me is like a toss-up. But if Tannehill's out there, I'd grab Tannehill off the waiver wire. I think P. Ryan is going to be given a ton of, at least he's going to be the second to Gore, who Gore is just going to slam into the line a couple times and get tired. You know, P. Ryan's going to get some good carries, and for free pickup, I think he's worth speculating on. For Mecole Hardman, I think now that what's his name, Watkins is hurt, I think he could get a lot more targets, and he's done well with the limited targets he's had so far. And then I'm someone who needs a quarterback with a lot of Dak out there and worried about Lamar, frankly. So I am looking. I already picked up. I went out and found. I already picked up Tannehill today in as many places as I could. But man, Herbert is looking fun. Like I just want to play him.
Yeah.
I want to have him on my team.
He looks like a kid. He's in looks like a powder blue youth league uniform. It's just, you do. I have that same feeling where I'm just like, oh, I'm going to put that little guy out there on my team. You know?
Oh man, he's tall. He's big. He feels like. It's almost like a big G.I. Joe or something, you know. It's like, man, I want him to be on my team.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. What about you guys? Do you have 3 picks?
I'll go last if you want to.
Go.
like I said.
All right, AJ.
So at wide receiver, and credit to Claudio, who already has Claypool in all his dynasty leagues. I'm very jealous.
Nice.
I think it's obvious he's going to be the number one, especially if Deontay's out for an extended period of time. I think an interesting one could be Laviska Shenault Jr., especially if Chark keeps missing time. I mean, he's definitely getting the targets for sure. Jacksonville's probably going to have to be throwing because they're going to be behind a lot, and he's really taken over the role from Keelan Cole and Chris Conley. So I like Laviska going forward if Chark's injury is pretty serious. And also Mike Williams is 40% rostered. So if Keenan Allen stays out longer than just a week, I think that could be really, really big. In terms of running back position, I really don't think there's that much. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Maybe in really deep leagues, if you have Jacobs, Jalen Richard, but that's about it. Justin Jackson is still available in almost 50% of leagues. I would grab him this week for sure.
He looked great last night.
My boy, Justin Jackson, finally showed up. I cannot tell you how happy I was about that. I cannot tell you how happy I was.
I thought he looked super energetic and just had that go get 'em attitude. However, those are the kind of guys, I think I put it in the chat. Those, like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, he's already been hurt like a million times between last year. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if I can see why he gets hurt so often. Twice as often. Because he's just one of those, like, just flailing out there and just, he loves contact, which is good for fantasy, but not if they get hurt.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
That's probably mostly it for me. Jackson, Shenault, Williams, if he's for some reason still available. I'm going to be honest. I think running back is pretty much becoming a desert at this point, as well as tight end. For quarterback, though, unless you're in like a 12-team league like ours where literally everybody has two quarterbacks, I mean, there's definitely a whole bunch of people you could get out there and play the matchup at this point. Bridgewater made a bunch of people happy. Fitzpatrick gets the Jets next week. I mean, Herbert's going to be on bye, so you might be able to pick him up afterwards for people who aren't noticing that. I mean, I think there's just a lot of there's a lot of people out there at quarterback especially, but running back and tight end, they're starting to become a ghost town. I'm going to be honest. Gerald Everett, probably a guy to keep your eye on, but those are starting to get really rough.
What about you, Jared?
I think most of the guys, people are going to know who's out there. Shenault was one of the guys I was going to bring up. And actually this week I picked him up. I was kind of desperate at receiver. I picked him up and he ended up winning a game for me. So
nice.
I'm on the Shenault. I'm on the Shenault train. He's only 34% rostered. And 3 out of 5 weeks, he's been at basically 11.5 points to 12 points or so. Each of the last 3 weeks, he's gotten 6 to 8 targets. Last 2 weeks, he's been 86 yards and 79 yards. He's getting the volume in that offense. So another guy that I don't know if he's going to be out there on your roster or not, but he's still only 53% owned. He's owned in almost all my leagues, but overall he's only 53% owned, is still T. Higgins. So, AJ Green's now hurt again with a hamstring injury. Even if he wasn't, T. Higgins has become the number 2 in that offense. Last 3 weeks, 9 targets, 7 targets, 8 targets, double digit points in 2 out of those 3. So, double check your wire to make sure he's not out there. For running back and quarterback, I'm going to go with, a couple of guys that you could use as a 1 week fill in. So normally I would not recommend Kirk Cousins, but he gets one of the golden matchups of the year with the Falcons this coming week. And I know he's just coming off of a game where he had the Seahawks, and that was supposed to be a golden matchup too. I didn't pick him up for any of those because I never trust Kirk Cousins in prime time. And they did okay, but he had
17 points. Or
15. 15.
Yeah, 6 points. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So but if you're desperate, it's the Falcons, and I would feel better about him playing the Falcons at home in a day game than I would the Seahawks. But again, there's a lot of good options out there. This is really more of like a deeper desperation play. And kind of the same thing at running back with a veteran that you could pick up for a 1 week play. He's only 55% rostered. He's available in about a third of my leagues because he's coming off a bye too, is Adrian Peterson. He's had basically 9 points in each of the last 2 games. But they get Jacksonville this week, and teams have been able to run on Jacksonville pretty well. It's a weird week where you've got a bunch of buys. You're going to be missing some guys. Josh Jacobs, Dalvin Cook went down with an injury. I think, let's see, are the Chiefs on? No, they play. I can't remember who all.
Buffalo next week.
Yeah, who else? The Chargers are on bye. You've got several teams on bye this week, so you may be like me and need a fill-in guy. And like we said, it's getting to that point of the season already where the first month you can find some guys. After we get past the first month, running back starts becoming a wasteland on the waiver wire. So Adrian Peterson might be a good 1 week fill-in. The rest of the guys, most people are going to know about. Check to see if you're probably going to need the number 1 or number 2 waiver priority to get somebody like Claypool or Alexander Madison. You can check to see if he's out there because Dalvin Cook went down. I picked up Madison.
We didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I picked up Madison in a league. I wish I'd gotten him now in a couple others before that game, but I didn't have anybody that I was really eager to drop. So Dalvin Cook, they don't really know situation on him, how long he might be out. He's always going to miss some games. So they got Atlanta this week. Then it's a bye. So he's got a couple of weeks to come back before Green Bay. But still, like if you can get Alexander Madison in that offense, like even if it's just for 1 week with the matchup and the way they run the ball, like that's a good pickup.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of Boone? Would he be worth picking up? Because I mean, I don't see Madison in very many leagues at all. He's 41% rostered, but he's not available. Okay, he's available in one of my leagues, but what about Boone? Would that be an arbitrage play just in case Madison gets hurt?
Not for me. Not for if Dalvin Cook had gone down with what we knew was a season-ending injury. It looks like it's short term. He's probably going to miss a week. Maybe he ends up missing another after the bye or something. Then maybe you pick up Boone just to see if anything happens with Madison. But their split from that game, the other night was 20 touches or 20 carries for Madison, 2 carries for Boone. So I don't think he's probably worth picking up right now.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
What do you think, AJ?
I think agreed, especially not playing in Minnesota. He might be worth it, but if Dalvin Cook is, and even with Madison, I mean, I like him, but Claudio, he brings this up. Boone stole some of the work from Madison. I'm worried that this might be a Josh Kelly, Justin Jackson situation where we don't know who's going to be the number 1 actually going into the game. So even if I might pick one of them up, if I'm a Dalvin Cook owner, which I'm not, but if I was, then even if I picked one up, I'd be worried the other one was going to take on the role. So one of them might be worth it in deeper leagues if you still got someone that you can give up, if you got an open space, but I don't really know if it's a necessity as much.
And look for Damian Harris if he's out there. A lot of people probably dropped him because it looks like he has 2 buys. It looks like this weekend, next week.
Right.
But I think they're going to play next week, right?
Yes, they are playing the Broncos. That Broncos game got rescheduled.
Okay. So on Yahoo, it looks like they have 2 buys in a row. So I know a lot of people, you can go out and probably find some Patriots that people have rage dropped. Other than that, I think that's a wrap, guys. It's been
we got one question from Drew though about a waiver wire. He said, "Is maybe Brandon Cooks with the coaching change? He put up 26 points last game out of nowhere. What do you guys think?"
It's kind of what Brandon Cooks does, though.
Right.
I mean, he's like a rich man's Djax in the sense that he usually is on a better team than Djax, poor guy, but he gets these big games, boom or bust. He is the quintessential. It's like that whole team is quintessential boom or bust.
Well, Will Fuller, to his credit this year, apart from that game where he got hurt, he's been consistent.
Has he been pretty consistent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somehow.
I wouldn't know because I stayed so far away from him because I
only have him in one. I only have him in one league where I took him like he was too good of a value at that point, to not take. But so far, but I mean the Will Fuller injury, just like the Dalvin Cook injury, that's coming. It's not really a matter of if, but when. But yeah,
this year,
right? Yeah, but. Yeah, Brandon Cooks, this is what he's always done with the Saints, with the Patriots, with the Rams, now with the Texans. He will, he'll have a game where he, throws down 149 receiving yards or something like that. And then, the next three are 38. So he would have to be a desperation play for me.
Mm-hmm. If I could say one thing about waiver wire real quick, which I don't know if you will care about at all, Judah Buddha, but in one of my leagues, only 4 of the top 10 kickers are owned. A lot of people are hanging on to Zane Gonzalez, Jason Myers, Young Hoku. There's a lot of guys out there. Daniel Carlson's been eerily consistent. Jason Sanders is going to be in Miami. He's going to have a whole bunch of points. Even if you are in a league where everybody for some reason owns 2 kickers, I can't believe I'm saying this. Cody Parkey has not missed a field goal yet this year. And with the exception of the first game against the Ravens, he has been very, very good. So check your kicker waiver wire because no one's going to be placing claims for it. So Thursday morning, you don't have to use your waiver claim on him. Figure out if any of the top 10 kickers are out there because with the exception of Gostkowski, who had one incredible game, there are so many good kickers out there right now.
I almost said something about Sanders because Sanders had like a 25 and an 18-point game. Carlson is a guy that I would like to add in some leagues. He's only 18% rostered.
It's crazy.
And he's been, basically he's been in double. Basically, he's just like good for a dozen points every week. I mean, it's kind of like you said, like this year, all of a sudden there are 10 guys who are Justin Tucker,
Yeah.
And there's leagues where I'm like, I have 2 kickers and I don't want to have 2 kickers, but they're both so good. I don't want to drop either one of them.
Exactly.
Like Rodrigo Blankenship,
There you go.
And that's a guy I think that I
kicker.
That's my boy, man. He's got my glasses and everything.
I know. I remember this. We had a podcast where I said, if you don't get one of the top kickers, pick up the winner. This was before they had even decided the winner of the the competition between him and Chase McLaughlin. I said, whoever it is, they're going to get opportunities because they're going to be playing defense. They're going to have an offense that's probably going to struggle a little bit to punch the ball in. And apart, week 1, he had 8 points, and every other week, like he's basically averaging about 13 over the last 4 weeks. He's been in double figures. So there's a lot of good guys, and people throw off on that position, but man, that can win you some games. Will Lutz won me some games this week because he put up 15, so.
Yeah. I saw the life slowly draining out of Judah Buddha's face as we continued to talk about.
Oh, yeah. I could tell.
At least you're not talking about uniforms. A couple of defenses you may want to pick up. I was just taking a look. The Rams, if they're out there, would be a good pick. Who knows who's going to be quarterback for the 49ers?
True.
And whoever it is, they're not looking very good. And then another one, anybody in the Browns Steelers? Lions, Jaguars. Either of those, I think, would be a decent defense to pick up.
Also, Indy's playing Cincinnati if they're available anywhere. Probably not, but there's a small percentage of leagues where you might be able to grab them.
And a lot of people are going to be on this one, even though they're only 3% rostered. They're getting talked about a lot for this week, at least, is the Dolphins. The Dolphins. have been kind of overlooked because I mean they get the
They're
matchup
Dolphins.
with because they're Dolphins, yeah, and they get the matchup with the Jets. But even beyond the Jets, when they haven't been playing really good teams, they've done pretty well. They play, they had dud games against New England, against Buffalo, and Seattle. But those are three good offenses. Their games against the Jaguars and the 49ers, they put up a dozen points. They had 4 sacks in one game, 5 in another, interceptions and fumble recoveries. You got to think about Brian, what's their coach's name?
Flores.
Flores, yeah. He was, I think, more of a, appreciate that. You're the guy that I always count on. You're the guy that I always count on when I can't remember a name. I actually thought it was Flores, but then I'd second guess myself, and I'm like, no, is that right? Anyway, so he comes from, I think a special teams. Was he special teams or defense in New England?
Defense.
Can't remember.
Okay. Yeah. So he comes from that sort of background. So I think a year plus with that Dolphins defense, I think against some bad offenses, they will be a good streaming option, maybe not just for this week.
Mm-hmm. They've done well in good matchups against Jacksonville and San Francisco with no quarterback. So
yeah, and they get later on down the line, they'll get the Broncos, the Jets, the Bengals. So
are you saying that Miami has no quarterback?
No, this San Francisco. When Miami played San Francisco, yeah.
Oh yeah, got you.
Yeah,
because Fitzmagic is lighting it up. But you have a couple more questions to get to, and then we're gonna head on out.
Looks like we got 2 more questions. Drew, back to Brandon Cooks, and I know Mecole, he's kind of all of our guy here. Would you rather take Brandon or Mecole Hardman?
I'd definitely take Hardman.
Jared?
Yeah, especially short term, because Sammy Watkins is gonna miss. I think maybe Judah pointed this out earlier, is that Sammy Watkins is going to miss probably a couple of weeks. So that's a couple of good opportunities for Hardman. Long term, it gets a little more of a, maybe just a push. But I think for the next couple of weeks, at least, Hardman.
Mm-hmm. I think I agree with that. Texans get really bad matchups coming up, so I worry about Cooks. JJ Green asks, thanks for tuning in, man. Try to trade Miles Sanders or Jonathan Taylor for someone like Aaron Jones. He would have to throw in an extra piece, but do you guys think it's worth it?
To me, it is. To me, it is because you're going to get that sort of a little bit unexpected consistency with Aaron Jones. I underrated him. I think a lot of people underrated him going into the season because we were afraid that Jamal Williams and Dylan would steal more touches. Jamal Williams, still has kept a pretty good role in that offense, but it hasn't really hurt Jones, and Dylan and some of those other backs haven't really eaten into his carries. He's just, he's in a better offense. Miles Sanders, I have a lot of Miles Sanders. So I hope that when they start getting some of these guys back, Alshon Jeffrey, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Reagor, I hope that offense is going to get better. Jonathan Taylor, kind of the same thing with the Colts. They're limited by the receivers being hurt, by Phillip Rivers. So I like Aaron Jones. And, on top of that, he has one of the king matchups for the first round of the playoffs with the Carolina run defense. So anywhere that I could get Aaron Jones, I would be happy to trade for him, as long as it didn't cost a whole lot beyond Sanders or Taylor.
Well, let's give JJ Green
Do it! Come on! Do it now! Do it!
excellent.
You're gonna do it. I was gonna say, is it so worthy of a second one there?
No, although I think you guys are exactly right. Let's get that Aaron Jones action. As a Packers fan, I'm all for it.
And one last thing, or it doesn't have to be the last thing, but I'd just like to point out that Jonathan was very happy about taking our top spot in the Rotohackers Listener League by like 20, 22
0.22.
22 100ths of a point, and so I've jumped back ahead by like 30 points from this
Let's
week.
go.
And he lost Dak. And for a week at
Ooh.
least, he lost Cook.
Oh yeah.
Yikes. And he's not even
believe
here.
me,
He was
I
trash
brought that up.
talking you, Judah, on Saturday. And
Oh,
now
yeah. He
ain't
did
showing
trash talk
up.
you. Yeah.
I'm sure he did. We have a bet. Like, I just thought of him because you said Jonathan Taylor. And I keep reminding him every week. I update him. I said that Jonathan Taylor would not make 1,000 yards and this year. And he's got a long way to go. He's only got like 300, I think.
Well, I don't know if you're going to have to pay me out of that money that you're getting from him, or if you're just going to have that $20 on your own. But remember, we have our bet that if there's not some sort of miracle that happens in the next 4 weeks, so that all NFL stadiums are filled to capacity by week 9, then
okay,
you
here's
give
the
me
question
$20.
though. Because you saw the article, I'm sure, about the Saints. What if they're playing at full capacity, not in their main stadium? They're at that other stadium, the college stadium they're talking about playing at.
It doesn't matter because we said that all the teams would be playing at full capacity.
Okay, but does that count if they are in their
sure. If every other team goes to some other like college or high school stadium or whatever, and they all fill it to capacity, I will be generous and say that you can have that. Yeah.
If every single one. Okay, good to know. Want to know the parameters.
I want to leave like a little like a glimmer of hope. You don't want to. It's like in The Dark Knight Rises where they throw Bruce Wayne down that pit, but they like having the possibility of hope to tease them a little bit. So that's what I'm gonna leave there for you. It's a glimmer of hope if you can make the climb.
Okay.
By the way, just a quick follow up to JJ. Would you guys rather trade Taylor or Sanders if you're looking to go get Jones?
Probably, I would trade Taylor JT because he's the rookie, and I don't know. He seems like he's on a better. I don't even know if he's on a better team, but that's a tough one. Yeah. I think I'd rather trade JT just because of the upside of Sanders and just being more of a veteran. I'd like to hold
Jared,
on.
What do you think? You're a Sanders owner and a Colts fan, so what do you think?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a Taylor owner in some leagues too. Actually, I have both of them in one league. I'll say I would probably rather trade. Yeah, that is tough because I think right now Taylor and the Colts are in a better position, even as bad as Phillip Rivers has been. When the Eagles get weapons back, that could help Miles Sanders. But I guess rather than go with what could be, I'll go with what is and just stick with Taylor and say that I'd probably rather trade Sanders away.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, especially when you look at their playoff schedules, because even though Taylor gets Houston week 15, he finishes in Pittsburgh, and that could be a big problem for Indy. Meanwhile, you look at Philly, they get Arizona and Dallas in their playoff matchups. So
if you get to the playoffs with Sanders,
true, exactly.
He's got some golden matchups there. Yeah.
Whoever, it may be just whoever you're the person you're trading with, whoever they want, really. It doesn't matter. Either of those guys. Just give them because guess what? Aaron Jones is better than both of them. So no, I wouldn't get both of them.
Well, he's in a much better offense, mainly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I also just realized that we were giving people our WAVERWIRE Warriors this week and not WAVERWIRE Warriors.
You don't know about that?
The WAVER are the the WAVERWIRE Warriors, are they like a special subset of WAVERWIRE Warriors?
Yeah. It's like oh wait, and there's another question. Let's see.
710
Oh.
concedes the victory to you.
Stop it. Yeah, that was, I didn't think I was gonna win. But I'm moving on up, folks. I'm coming for that number one spot. I don't know where I am, probably in the middle, but I got some good players.
You know, I hate to say this because AJ bears so little of the burden on this. The vast majority of it goes to you. But I think I have to point this out in case something happens in the future that I don't get to point it out. I am now unbeaten, 6-0 all time against my fellow co-hosts. Again,
Yeah.
AJ bears very little of that. Only one game, but technically it does now count.
And you caught me on the worst week possible.
But even it was a very bad week. But you would have had to have a really, you'd have had to put up 140 points.
Very
beat me,
true.
So it would have been
Very
a tough
true.
one anyway. Yeah.
Yep.
We have one more down there. Oh, just I think Claudio's saying.
Yeah.
710 says Aaron Rodgers is on the trading block if we're interested.
Also, somebody brought up Aaron Rodgers as one of those top 5 too. You know, top 6.
He's been looking nice.
Quarterbacks, yeah.
Without Devontae most of the time, too.
Yeah. It's I'm excited about this season.
Week.
What's that?
Devontae Adams better come back this week. I'm not going to be.
Oh, he will. He will.
I know, but I'm just like, he better come back and not like, oh, I'm back for 4 plays and now my ankle's in.
He and Michael Thomas. He and Michael Thomas are going to get in a fight with each other, and then they're both going to be out for another week.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I just want to leave you with one last thing, and that is,
I just had a feeling you were going to hit the button.
I thought about it. I really did. I thought about it. This is it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Beautiful. Show it again. Show it again.
You want me to show it again?
Yeah, show it again.
Okay. Maybe I can hear it also.
That's like some sort of like power move you build up to in a fighting game or something where that's like a special power.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
He is. And so I also have and so here's my apology.
Formal apology.